Now, the rest of the story.
So here we are live from the field, our trusty companion. Sunday night, really didn't plan on looking at the crops too overly much, but figured I was here. I wanted to look and see what happened, or what's all going on in the field. The soybean field that I'm in was planted light, disked last fall, or VT'd last fall, VT'd again this spring, planted at 110,000 seeds per acre, and then harrowed, and then forgotten about. And then it got cold, and germination was an issue. This year, I would say I'm not super confident about this field. I mean, I do all sorts of things to this field, and it seems like no matter what I do, it yields the same. Actually reducing the chisel plow pass, getting rid of that, and actually going back to just disking and not working up the corn stalks in the fall, because it's a corn bean rotation, 50-50, just swap it out every year. And I did it last year for the first time. It's the only thing that really moved the needle on yield in this place. And I did it again this year, and I could definitely tell you that I had a lot of spots that I thought were going to be completely bare, which that really isn't the case, it seems. And as I'm looking here, we got an awful lot of branching. This is just one plant. I went through and I cut off all of the leaves and everything else that are kind of a distraction to what's really going on, but branching is pretty major here. See, the thing is, this field got sprayed with something that it wasn't supposed to, which compared to the rest of the farms, it did look kind of sour. Not like it was going backwards, but it definitely dinged it. Similar to what Cobra would do, because Cobra, guys will spray Cobra with the intentions that it's gonna, knock back, ding the plants, and then what it does is it makes the plants come back that much more vigorous. And I don't know if I'm really gonna be able to show you much. You tend to get more of the branching off. So what we did, granted, getting sprayed was something it wasn't supposed to. It was a residual that was in the tank that came in a tender. So what it did was probably added another 5 to 10 bushels to the acre, just by design of what soybeans like to do. I get branching typically. I usually don't see branching like this. I mean, I'm actually pretty impressed by with what I'm really seeing. I mean, we do have, as you can see, we got some pods coming in. I think this is the field that my agronomist was out here a week ago. No, it was last week in June. What was it? It was awfully early. I mean, really not to where you'd think you'd be seeing pods coming in already, at least for southwest Wisconsin. And he did make that remark that it's the earliest he's seen pods on a soybean plant. So probably going to surprise me. But when it comes to yields and crops, I went through a phase in my life where I used to be out in the fields every other day looking at the corn crop, looking at the bean crop. Beans, it's always a guesstimate. I really don't like putting a number on it. With corn, trying to do the yield counts and everything else like that, and I always seem to be like 20 to 30 bushel off from whatever I ended up being. So I quit doing that. I quit putting too much of a emphasis on what I think it's going to yield, and I just let the combine tell me through the yield monitor. So comparing what we used to get in the past, what I've seen a lot in the past, is when you plant higher plant populations, it doesn't really give the plant enough room to really branch out. And oops, you still there? And what you can kind of see is, ideally these were supposed to be 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit more. I'm at 110,000. I think it's 1.5 inches at 140,000 apart. But I had the cold soils plus the residue. I had more residue on top of these than what I was really aiming for. So like right here, got a really good gap that I would really like to not see in between these plants. But then I don't know how well the cell phone's picking this up, but the branching, soybeans are really good at branching out and taking up as much of that sunlight as they can. So what I'm really noticing is the flowers. The flowers. I mean, this is, if the leaves will get out the way, I'm seeing that pretty consistently through here. I gotta go. Okay, so I was saying something about the amount of flowers, and it's true. I'm used to seeing just a spindly little stalk without any branching. I mean, you see the main stalk. I'm working with what I got here, so this guy is pretty much what all I'm used to seeing. So all these extra branches that are throwing out an awful lot of flowers, like I just said, it's a bit of a wild card. I'm not used to guesstimating what yield's going to do. And honestly, they could look like this. We don't get any rain, and they still yield 40 bushels to the acre. So as far as the soybeans go, they look good. Everything depends on moisture. The corn is just starting to tassel. I mean, we have a couple strips of my dad's that, I mean, they're away from the building, so unless I'm looking towards them as I'm doing my daily four-wheeler ride around the field, I mean, from yesterday, I didn't go on one yesterday, so 2 days ago versus today, there's at least one strip over there that it's almost entirely tasseled, which is good. I'm ready to see the fields tasseled. I'm ready to start seeing some ears grow. I mean, as far as doing kernel counts and guesstimating what the corn's going to yield, I don't do that anymore. I mean, 200 bushels to the acre is what I aim for. Anything north of that is, I guess it's out to eat. It's dinner money, right? So this is my first real look at the soybeans in this field. I have another farm that is going to be the last field that I harvest, because as far as soybeans go, this is probably going to be one of the first ones. And then the last farm that we'll be harvesting of mine, it was actually a longer season bean. A lot of these are, what, 2.0s. That one was a 2.7, planted at 140,000 seeds per acre approximately, plus given a lot of foo-foo juice. And then the fertilizer and everything else there, we're actually aiming for, 70, 80 bushel beans across it. But unfortunately, you can do everything right and still be wrong. Oh, there's a critter in my field. Oh, hey buddy. So, like I said, you can do everything right and still be wrong, and the weather is what pretty much determines if you're right or wrong. The last year where that derecho hit around August, I'm not calling for any more nasty weather like that. As a matter of fact, we are pretty much just getting enough rain to keep the crops moving. So, and actually look at that horizon, it's beautiful out. So I don't know, I'm actually pretty proud of this guy. I mean, I just knocked my yield down by 20 bushels the acre by losing this one plant, right? Oh well, back to the ground, dude. That's organic matter. And looking forward to this fall. But that was the wife that called me before, and she's wondering why I'm not home an hour ago. So with that, take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys later.